I mentioned at the top of our show some of the credits of our first guest, and as impressive as it sounded, it was just a small partial list. Joining me right now is Liza Cariaga-Lo, who I had the pleasure of meeting when she received the Chang Lin Tien Leadership in Education Award from the Asian Pacific Fund, an event I had the honor to MC. Lisa, nice to see you again.
Nice to see you again. Thank you for having me.
Well, first of all, let's start off with the fact that I know that you grew up in the Bay Area.
Yes.
Give us an idea in terms of your upbringing and how that helped you maybe shape your goals.
Sure. So my father was in the Navy, and we lived in Virginia until I was 12. And then at 12, we moved to Vallejo. And at the time, as you may know, Mare Island used to be there as a naval base, and so we moved there for my father's work, and so we ended up living in Vallejo, and my family still lives in Vallejo even now, and I left roughly 17 years ago now to go to Boston for school, and we have remained in Boston for the last 17 years, so, or at least in the area of Boston, Boston, Connecticut, and Rhode Island now, of course.
I know that diversity is a big part of what your perspective is, and you grew up here in the Bay Area, where diversity is a little bit more of a common theme. People kind of understand a little bit better. I know Boston is a fairly liberal area in some ways and maybe pretty conservative in others. The two combined, have they helped you in terms of rounding out your perspective?
Well, I think what taught me about the issues of diversity and the importance of recognizing that diversity is critical to what we need to be working on as a society really comes out of growing up here in the Bay Area and being exposed really to a wide diversity of cultures and experiences of different communities. And so in Vallejo, as you might know, not only do we have a fairly large population of Filipinos, but we also have a sizable community of African Americans and Hispanic Latino Americans, and you know, it was a privilege, in my opinion, to grow up in Vallejo because it really gave me the opportunity to be exposed to the breadth of experiences of communities and of people of color. And so moving to Boston, I recognized really that even there as well, you see this breadth of experiences that people bring, not just, you know, all over the globe, because Boston is very much an international and global community, but also from all over different parts of the country. Large numbers of African Americans early on moved up north to work up in the Boston area, and so you meet many African Americans who have roots in the South, but also increasingly Central Americans, Puerto Ricans, large Chinese community, and increasing numbers of Korean Americans as well.
Yeah, when you talk about culture, really cultures are influenced by other cultures.
Yes.
Now, you're writing a book about Asian American identity, and we have that problem sometimes when we're trying to discuss topics for our show, which is Asian American can mean so much, and it's so broad, and there's communities within the community. In terms of your book, what's the kind of thing you're trying to aim for? How difficult is it to kind of encompass all of it?
So I'm a developmental psychologist by training, and so a lot of the work that I do is really focused on the coping and adaptation of students, in particular in really difficult settings, often in school settings. And so the Asian American book that I'm writing is really focused on identities, in part because from my experience, certainly in teaching many Asian Americans for quite a number of years in college settings, you do find that people don't always understand the kind of experiences that different Asian Americans bring to colleges and universities, and that the experiences of Chinese Americans who grew up in San Francisco versus Chinese Americans who grew up in Mississippi or Vietnamese Americans who grew up in LA are quite different and unique, and so we need to address their needs in quite unique ways. And so my book is really focused on understanding the collective identity of Asian Americans and trying to disaggregate that identity into the different experiences, but also the different ways in which young people today cope and adapt with stresses in their lives. And so in doing so and in trying to unpack this notion of the Asian American identity, I think that we can more fully provide a better understanding of the Asian American experience here in America today.
Well, you have really taken on quite a project.
Yes.
Good luck for that, and we're going to have you back when you have your book completed, all right?
Yes, well, I look forward to that. Thank you again for having me. It's
Thank
been
you
fun.
for sharing your insights and your opinions here on our show. Liza Cariaga-Lo, a Vice President for Academic Development, Diversity, and Inclusion at Brown University. Now, coming up next, an appeal from Appeal, a group that